And we welcome you to the July edition of Eye on the Storm. Randy Payton, the Sports Information Director here at the University of Rio Grande, joined by my co-host Jeff Lanham, the Athletic Director. End of July, getting ready to move into August, and we've talked about it seemingly at the start of every show about how busy we are, and we really mean it in this case because kids will be moving in very shortly, and before you know it, fall sports will be right on us.
It is. It hasn't changed. That statement hasn't changed, and it is. The next time we meet, we'll have athletes here on campus. We've got men's and women's soccer and volleyball all coming in the 1st of August. Things will get going pretty quickly when that happens. I think they come in, report August the 6th, so we'll have practice. We'll get started pretty quick, and before we know it, games will be here.
Yeah, before we know it. Hey, we do have a special guest this afternoon, Shaun Gunnell, the women's basketball assistant coach here at the University of Rio Grande. When last we had him on, Shaun, you had just learned that you were a 30 under 30 honoree. You were getting ready to head to Dallas to take part in all that goes in with that honor, and if you would kind of tell us how that went. I know it was a pretty exciting time when you found out that you were one of the honorees.
Absolutely. Going to Dallas, being fortunate enough to be named 30 under 30 was a great experience for me. Going to Dallas, going to different classroom sessions. As a coach, I felt like I've grown a lot just from attending those sessions, and I look forward to attending the sessions next year at the Women's Final Four in Columbus. So the contacts, the networking, talking to coaches, friends in the coaching business, athletic directors as such, it was a great experience for me, and it was really, it was once in a lifetime, but I definitely want to continue to do that.
So, Shaun, that was an experience in the springtime. We're, as we said, we're here in July. Tell us some of the things that's been going on with you, maybe basketball-wise, here this summer.
For here in the summer, I've been working camps. It's camp season here at Rio.
Camp season.
Outside of band camps, I've been working men's basketball camp, hard work camp. 2017 was a huge success. I have the role of commissioner of the NBA division, which is older kids at camp. Great experience, 360 plus kids. We wrapped up our division play at 4:48 in the morning. Walked out of the gym line center at 5:11, and the sun was starting to rise, the birds were chirping, and I crashed for about an hour, woke up, and went back to the gym to have our award ceremony. It was a huge success. I wasn't alone. And women's basketball camp ended on the 12th of July. Another great experience. We had about 86 campers in total. Another time, great time, and not to boast, but my team did win the regular season championship, the tournament championship, as well as the overtime championship. So I would say another great camp season in the books here at the University of Rio Grande.
Now you talk about that you know all of the youngsters that were here, both male and female, and all that, but give us maybe who you worked with. That's a neat thing as coaches, to interact and be involved, maybe people you met for the first time, you know, and you can, that's a great way that coaches interact is during camp time.
Absolutely. We've had some coaches, we had a coach from Point Pleasant, South Gallia. We actually had this year for the first time assistant coach from Georgetown College in Georgetown, Kentucky. So having her here, and this was her first year in college athletics, so you know she was fresh. She was asking a lot of questions about camp as far as moving forward in her coaching career as well. So just that networking as well, and bringing coaches outside of the University of Rio Grande to work our camps, I think it helps in the growth and development of coaches as well.
Yeah, I had another thing I wanted to touch on that we just learned the other day. University of Rio Grande women's basketball team, a WBCA scholar team GPA of 3.568. Obviously, Coach Smalley and you guys have recruited some kids that can play basketball, but they're very good students in the classroom as well.
Absolutely. One thing about Coach Smalley from 1992 on to 2017, I don't mean to age him at all, but the demand for academic excellence is very high for Coach Smalley. We actually have a rule in our program: if you miss a class unexcused, that's $500 off of your athletic aid. So either those students are very, very smart students, or they don't want to lose their aid. I'll let Coach Smalley decide that, but so in our program, academics are very important for us.
Before we let you go, program did suffer a loss recently. Joey Hoover, his mother, Robin Burnham, who was essentially a team mom for the women's basketball program, passed away unexpectedly, and a very tough loss for the program.
Absolutely. Seeing Robbie, Joey, and Pete every day at our practice, it won't be the same at all. I've seen them actually last week, and just seeing Joey and Pete, there's definitely a void in our program for her, and we're coming up with some ideas to pretty much honor her as a part of our team. She's been a part of our team for the past 8 seasons, so we definitely want to remember her and keep Coach Hoover and Pete in our prayers.
I guess one other thing before we let you go. Basketball season obviously is a long way off, but yet you guys have kind of a boot camp, I guess for lack of a better term, for your incoming players, and that's going to happen pretty soon. That's always an interesting 3 or 4 days.
Absolutely. August 9th, we'll host our traditional mini camp. The students will stay Sunday, Monday, and they'll take off on Tuesday. We'll eat in the cafeteria, stay in the dorms, and just get familiar with our offense, our camaraderie, and get everybody together and get everybody adjusted to everybody's style of play, go over our team rules, and sort of a 3-day team bonding as well.
Busy time for you all summer, and it's not over yet, and actually I guess just ready to get started again. We appreciate you taking some time out and joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Shaun.
That is Shaun Gunnell, the assistant women's basketball coach here at the University of Rio Grande. Another thing we want to touch on, and this actually, I guess, in a way, breaking news, and Jeff, kind of a thing that is really, we're going to see how the River States Conference gets through it, but Commissioner Scott McClure announcing that he is resigning and taking another position at an NAIA school out in the western part of the country. And in the 2 years that we've had the opportunity to work with Scott as the commissioner of the River States Conference, formerly the KIAC, he has been nothing but good, and I think the powers that be now have a very tough task ahead of them trying to find out who's going to be his replacement.
It is, and 2 years ago I was involved in that process of hiring Scott and on that search committee. And Scott was the first full-time commissioner for the, at that time was the KIAC,
right.
Kentucky Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. We've come a long way, baby, in the 2 years that he has been involved in. He has done nothing but done a tremendous job of promoting the now River States Conference, both internally and nationally. Within all 5 states that we have schools, institutions a part of our conference, and within the NAIA. Yes, he will be tremendously missed, and you know, the idea that we are much better today than we were when he got there, and that's nothing, no knock on any former commissioners at all. That's just the idea that it's a full-time position, and he was moving us definitely in the right direction, and I think it will be tough. You know, we've got a lot of things that are happening. This just happened last week.
Yeah.
So to say that, and so it is something that's going to, there'll be an interim commissioner that will be named. and then the task force will be brought together by Dr. Ray Wallace, who is the chair of the Council of Presidents of the River States, and he is the president at IU Southeast. And he's already sent out a message that process is already getting ready to take place.
You are obviously much closer to it than I am, but I would tend to think, given the fact that we're this close to the start of the school year, I would think there's probably a pretty good chance that the conference goes with an interim commissioner this year.
It could be, and I've talked with the people involved, the ADs that's been involved in the idea that, you know, January 1 would be the soonest that we could have somebody in. And, you know, it would all depend on who's involved, who's interested, what position they are leaving and, you know, would be coming into. So there is. And Scott, talking with Scott, that's something that he was not looking to leave, something that came up, and, you know, that's kind of how things work. And you know, we need to get, we're so happy for Scott. I think it's something that he and his wife, Michelle, they will have a good time. He's looking forward to it, and he gets started, I think his first day is August the 9th. So, yes, he's going to get started pretty quickly. You know,
and when I say trying to replace him and making the right choice is a big thing, Scott had so many ties to the national office, and his ability to get the new named conference, the River States Conference, some national exposure. I think that's something that obviously he had in his back pocket, and that's something that whomever the new person is going to be, that's going to be one of their main objectives as well.
Exactly. And you know, the River States Conference is better now than it was 2 years ago because of what Scott's background that he had with the NAI, as you said. And you know, it's just something that we're going to have to just step forward. Everybody in all the institutions in the River State Conference are going to step forward. And I've talked with our current president, Mark Perdue, the athletic director at Asbury, and he's ready, you know, for that challenge. He's ready to get moving. And so I'm moving into a new role as the vice chair of the athletic directors for next year. So that's something new for me, and so we're ready to go. We're going to continue to move forward. It hurts, but at the same time, we're going to. It's a challenge that we are ready to step up and as a conference and make good.
We wanted him to be on our show so badly,
right.
and he did not want to be on our show so badly, but he's resigned. But all kidding aside, we wish Scott McClure the best after a 2-year run as the commissioner of the River States Conference. We have much more of Eye on the Storm to come your way, and we'll do that when we return in a moment. And we welcome you back to this July edition of Eye on the Storm. Randy Payton, Jeff Lanham, happy to have you along. We were talking before the break about the River States Conference losing its commissioner in Scott McClure after 2 years, and kind of on that same level, the conference handing out awards for the 2016-17 athletic year, and a couple of Rio Grande folks among the award winners, Tara Gerlach, the athletic trainer of the year in the River States Conference, and Jorge Genevart, the men's soccer standout, the men's athlete of the year in the conference, and a big feather in the hat to both of those people.
Right, and Tara has done a fantastic job this year with really trying to get something that Scott has created. He's really, Scott McClure, our former commissioner of River States, has really tried to get all organizations together to start meeting multiple times a year to have some organization, and Tara has really been the one who has stepped up for the athletic trainers to get them involved and to get bylaws together. And you know, Tara's well deserving of that award.
And in terms of Jorge Genevart, if you talk to Scott Morrissey as head coach, if Rio wins the national championship last year, he's probably the national player of the year.
National player of the year, right? And I mean, the positive thing about that is, hopefully we get to see him again, at some point. And again, a well-deserving award for that young man. The idea that he's considered to be one of the top men's soccer athletes in this nation, without a doubt. He's definitely well deserving for that position.
Hey, something that we discussed a little bit with our previous guest, Shaun Gunnell. We talked about the women's basketball team being a WBCA scholar team, producing a team GPA of 3.568. Couple of other teams getting some recognition as well. DAC Stats, the scholar teams, men's basketball and softball, both being honored there. Men's basketball, a 3.03 team GPA, softball at 3.46. Men's basketball also honored through the NABC Honors Court for team excellence, 3.0 or better. They had a couple of players, Corey Cruz and Devin Price, who made the Honors Court as individuals with GPAs of 3.2 or higher. And, we get caught up in the games and the practices and the things like that, but the bottom line is these folks are student athletes, and when you see them get the kind of recognition that we just mentioned there, pretty big deal.
It is a big deal, Randy, and I want to go back and just give credit to our coaches, because I think number one, they're recruiting and bringing in the right individuals, the right fit for what we have here at Rio Grande, and that they are student athletes, and that's huge. That's something that they're going to keep with them for the rest of their lives, right. And it's part of them preparing for the rest of their life. And what an honor it is that University of Rio Grande has to have such great individuals and to lead these student athletes, and the leadership that these student athletes are showing, not only on the field or court, but in the classrooms and everywhere else here on our campus, and something that we are very proud of, and something they should be very proud of.
When we talk about those two scholar teams, men's basketball and softball, and truth be told, I think it might have been some paperwork slipping by or whatever, men's soccer and women's basketball also would have made that list, but I think they kind of missed the deadline. But that does not take away from the fact that they have themselves done a pretty decent job in the classroom.
Exactly, as well. And it goes back to those people who are recruiting them, those people who are in charge and showing that leadership here on campus, and it just is an honor, really is an honor.
All right, we talked about the kids getting the job done in the classroom, and now you kind of shift your attention. We talked about all the stuff going on here on campus during the summer. One of the things that our two new programs have been trying to do is fill their rosters, golf and bowling. Golf had an open tryout earlier today in an attempt to fill out the remainder of their roster. I know bowling, Coach Little and Coach Carl have been hither and yon to sign kids, and it's really exciting when you talk about the start of a new athletic year and you're adding two programs.
Right. Well, actually adding 4 programs.
Well, yeah, if you count
men's and women's on both sides. But in talking with Coach Wilson with golf, he had 12 people sign up today, and most of those people who signed up are underclass high school. So we have sophomores and juniors who are already interested in what we're offering here for golf. So he was very excited about that, and the idea that we got a late start and the golf season in Ohio is in the fall. He didn't even get started until after their season was completed. So he's using this opportunity to have people come out and let them compete. he's pretty excited about that whole. He's going to do this every Wednesday for the next till we start school. You know, he's going to try to get people involved with this, not only for this year, but for the future.
I know somebody else that we had on our show earlier, the head bowling coach, Brett Little, and talking with him recently, they are excited about the female bowlers that they have already signed, but they're absolutely giddy about the men's bowling players that they've signed.
Just before we came over, I was talking with Coach Little, and he thought that he was going to have somewhere around 8 women, and he's looking at 18 or 19 men for next year. So he's pretty excited about it and ready to get going. They are. He's ready to start. He's ready to get going. You're right. They're all 4 programs are excited and up and ready to go. And it's an exciting time in Rio athletics coming up here for 17-18.
A couple of other things to touch on before we go. Hall of Fame meeting, which you and I will be a part of, as we try to determine the upcoming inductees to the Hall of Fame. That meeting coming up shortly, and that's always an interesting time.
It is, and you know, that committee's made up of former athletes here on our campus, former athletic director, former students, and it's a nice time. Once a year we get together and we talk about former athletes who have come and been successful, and looking at honoring them. So I think that's taking place on Thursday the 28th, I think, is when that meeting takes place. So it's an exciting time.
And last year, of course, we talk about a loaded class. You get 4 coaches, 1 soccer player, and a lot of those coaches, I guess all of them that got inducted, are still currently active.
Still active. We had track and field and cross country with Coach Willie. We had our women's basketball with David Smalley, and then our men's soccer coach Scott Morrissey. We're all inducted as coaches into our Rio Grande Athletic Hall of Fame. Guys
who are still very active in the athletic scene here at Rio Grande. I guess last thing we want to touch on, we mentioned by the time that our August show comes around, we will already have some action that has taken place. Men's soccer will get its season underway on the 19th of August. They'll play host to St. Xavier, and I know, Jeff, we want to invite a lot of people out to that. That is, I think, move-in weekend for the students, and a lot of activities going on in addition to the soccer game.
Right, that's on Saturday night of that date, but Friday night our women's soccer is going to have a red-white game that evening. It's kind of an inter-squad scrimmage. That Saturday they will be traveling to Columbus to to scrimmage Capital University, who has a former Rio player who is now coaching them up at Capital. So that'll be a fun time. It'll be a fun weekend. A lot of good things going on that weekend.
Tony Daniels and his women's soccer team, they will get their regular season underway on the 25th of August against Indiana Wesleyan, a home date. And I know we would have liked to have had Coach Morrissey and Coach Daniels on for this show, but in looking ahead to their season real quick, particularly on the women's side, Tony's expecting a great deal of improvement this year.
He is, and boy, I think his numbers are just, total numbers are up. He's somewhere around 35, 36 total, and Scott's looking at about 40, 41 total people in. So, yeah, Tony is looking forward to this. This will be his second go-round, and I think he's learning something every day.
Volleyball will also get its season underway on the weekend of August 25 and 26 at Montreat. Their first home matches will take place with the Emily Cooper tournament Friday night, September the 1st here at Rio. More information about that on our website, rioredstorm.com. And on Saturday, those games will take place at Jackson High School. Want to get one quick mention in. We talked about the loss of Robin Burnham, the mother of women's basketball assistant coach Joey Hoover. Rio Athletics also losing Lynette Kiesling, a former volleyball player and coach, and a former athlete in Jessica Gall over the last few weeks. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of all three of those individuals. That's going to wrap up our July edition of Eye on the Storm. We appreciate you tuning in, and we invite you to check out the August edition of Eye on the Storm, and we'll hopefully by then have a chance to talk with head coach Tony Daniels and Scott Morrissey of Rio Grande Soccer, and perhaps volleyball coach Belina Donaldson as well. But until then, so long, everyone.